Welcome the spicy ladies. What happens when a woman enters your life and leaves you changed forever? Some people arrive like a passing breeze, while others stay long enough to teach a lesson. But then there are Sigma females. They are not just a part of your story. They are often the last chapter that defines the entire book. Once you meet one, you never go back to who you were before. A Sigma female does not come with noise or drama. She carries herself with calm strength, and that alone unsettles those who are used to controlling others. Her presence forces people to face themselves because she refuses to play by anyone else's script. She does not bend to pressure, and she does not tolerate masks. That is why so many people find it hard to handle her. She is not here to decorate your life. She is here to change it. The brutal truth is that once a Sigma female decides she is done with someone, it often feels final. She does not circle back. She closes the door quietly, and that silence is louder than any argument. People realize too late that her absence weighs heavier than her presence ever did. If you are a Sigma female, take this as a reminder of your power. You are not ordinary. You are not temporary. You are the lesson people never forget. And if you feel out of place at times, know this: you are not behind. You are simply ahead. Let's dive into it. The spicy ladies. Number 1. People underestimate her until they realize she was the only one who truly understood their depth. People often underestimate a Sigma female. At first, she seems quiet, reserved, or even distant. Many dismiss her because she does not rush to prove herself or compete for attention. But the moment life gets heavy, when the noise fades and people start looking for someone who truly understands, that is when her presence becomes unforgettable. She notices what others overlook. Imagine sitting with friends and laughing at small jokes, but deep down you are carrying a weight no one seems to sense. A Sigma female will catch it. She sees the little pause before your smile, the tiredness in your eyes, or the silence in your words. That depth of perception makes people realize she was never just another person in the crowd. She was the one who actually understood what they were going through, even when they never said a word. And here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Once people recognize the rare way she connects, they also realize how irreplaceable she is. Yet many only understand this truth when she decides to step back. She does not argue or explain herself endlessly. She quietly leaves, and that quiet departure cuts deeper than any dramatic ending. Suddenly people feel the loss of the one person who saw them clearly. Think about it in your own life. How often do you meet someone who really understands you without judgment or pretense? It is rare. That is why a Sigma female becomes the final chapter in many people's stories. Once she exits, they cannot return to the shallow connections they once had. If you are a Sigma female, never underestimate this gift. It may feel heavy at times, but it is also your strength. You are not just part of people's journey. You are often the turning point they never recover from. Number 2. When someone loses a Sigma female, it rarely sinks in immediately. At first, they might think they can move on with ease, that life will carry on as usual. But with time, the truth hits differently. They realize too late that no one else will ever treat them with that rare mix of honesty and quiet intensity that she carried so naturally. A Sigma female is not the type to sugarcoat her words just to keep the peace. She tells you the truth even when it stings, not to tear you down, but to make you stronger. Imagine being in a tough situation where everyone around you is telling you what you want to hear. She is the one who will give you the raw truth because she believes you can handle it. That honesty may have felt uncomfortable in the moment, but once it is gone, people realize it was the most genuine form of care they ever had. Her quiet intensity is another part of her that people never forget. She listens in a way that makes you feel like every word matters. In a world where most people are half distracted, she gives her full attention. Picture sharing your dreams or struggles with her. She does not just nod politely. She takes it in, reflects on it, and offers insights that stay with you long after the conversation ends. That kind of presence is not easy to find. And when it disappears, the absence feels heavy. The painful lesson comes when people try to replace her. They may meet others, but the depth is never the same. They miss the rare balance of being challenged and understood at once. And that is why losing a Sigma female often feels final. Once she is gone, she becomes the benchmark against which all others are measured, and most fall short. If you are a Sigma female, remember this. Your way of loving, your honesty, and your intensity are not just qualities. They are treasures. Even if people fail to see it in the moment, your presence leaves an imprint that time cannot erase. Number 3. She lives in truth even when it is brutal, and that rawness leaves a mark that never fades. A Sigma female does not dress her words in soft layers just to make them easier to swallow. She speaks from a place of honesty that is rare in a world where many people prefer comfort over clarity. And while that honesty can sting in the moment, it becomes unforgettable once you realize how few people are willing to be that real with you. Think about a time when someone told you exactly what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. Maybe it was a close friend who called you out on a destructive habit or pointed out the cracks in a relationship you were too afraid to see. It hurt, but later you realized that was the conversation that opened your eyes. That is what it is like with a Sigma female. She will not let you drown in illusions, even if you cling to them. Her truth has weight because it comes with intention. She does not expose weaknesses to embarrass you. She does it to free you. For example, if she notices you chasing approval from people who do not value you, she will say it plainly. Others might encourage you to keep going just to avoid conflict, but she cannot live with dishonesty. That kind of rawness makes people either grow or retreat from her because not everyone is ready to face themselves through her words. And here is the part many miss. Her truth is not only about others. She lives it herself. She confronts her own flaws, owns her mistakes, and refuses to hide behind excuses. That authenticity is what sets her apart because she does not demand from others what she is not willing to embody. The lasting imprint she leaves is this. Once you have experienced her rawness, watered down words from others will never feel the same again. People may resent her at first, but with time they look back and realize she gave them something far more valuable than comfort. She gave them clarity, and clarity is a gift that cannot be forgotten. Number 4. She does not create drama, but when she withdraws, the silence she leaves behind feels heavier than any argument. A Sigma female does not shout, slam doors, or put on a performance when she is done. She simply steps back, and that quiet decision shakes people more than 1,000 loud exits ever could. Think of it this way. In everyday life, we are used to noise. When someone is upset, they argue. They cry. They make sure everyone knows their feelings. That noise gives others something to respond to. But when a Sigma female pulls away, there is no explanation, no scene, no plea for attention. There's only silence. And silence, when it comes from someone who once gave you honesty, depth, and loyalty, feels like a storm you cannot control. It is like losing power in a house at night. At first, you notice the darkness. Then you realize how much you depended on the quiet hum of the lights, the refrigerator, the clock on the wall. You only become aware of their importance once they are gone. In the same way, her absence forces people to notice how much stability and presence she brought without ever demanding recognition. What makes this even more powerful is that she does not withdraw to punish. She withdraws because her peace matters more than staying in a space that drains her. She values her energy enough to protect it. And once she makes that choice, there is no turning back. The result is a void that others cannot easily fill. They search for the same level of understanding and calm intensity elsewhere, but most connections fall short. And that is why her quiet departure feels like a storm. It clears the space, it shakes the ground, and it forces people to confront what they lost. If you are a Sigma female, understand this. Your silence carries more weight than noise ever could. Your withdrawal is not weakness. It is power. And it is the kind of power people never forget. Number 5. People often misunderstand a Sigma female because of the way she carries her standards. To some, her refusal to settle may come across as arrogance. They assume she thinks too highly of herself or that she is difficult to please. But in truth, her standards are not about superiority. They are about protecting her peace. And, sadly, most people only recognize this after she is gone. Think about relationships where someone keeps saying yes to things they do not want. They end up drained, resentful, and exhausted because they let everyone walk past their boundaries. A Sigma female chooses the opposite path. She knows that every careless yes can cost her time, energy, and even her happiness. So, she says no more often than people expect. Not to reject others, but to respect herself. For example, if she refuses to entertain gossip, it is not because she thinks she is above anyone. It is because gossip pollutes her mind with unnecessary negativity. If she does not stay in a relationship where effort is one-sided, it is not because she is cold. It is because she knows love without respect is a slow poison. These are not acts of arrogance. They are acts of self-preservation. The irony is that people often accuse her of being hard to reach, only to later realize that her filter was never about keeping people out. It was about letting the right ones in. By the time they see this, she may already be gone, and they are left wishing they had valued her boundaries instead of questioning them. Her standards are not walls, they are doors with locks. She simply chooses carefully who gets the key. That is why her presence feels calm, and her absence feels heavy. She is not trying to be untouchable. She is trying to stay whole. And that is something people never forget once they finally understand it. Number 6. She makes people confront the parts of themselves they are most afraid to face. And that is both her gift and her curse. A Sigma female has a way of holding up a mirror without even trying. She does not need to lecture or force her perspective. Simply by being herself, she brings out truths that others have buried deep. And while some people grow from this, others run from it because facing yourself is never easy. Think about how most of us prefer comfort over honesty. It is easier to ignore our flaws than to sit with them. For example, someone might avoid admitting they stay in a relationship out of fear of being alone. Another might cover insecurity with arrogance, pretending they are in control when inside they feel lost. Around most people, these masks go unnoticed. But with a Sigma female, the masks start to crack. Her sharp perception notices the disconnect between what you say and what you truly feel. It can be unsettling. Imagine telling her you are fine while your voice trembles slightly. She will not call you out loudly, but her silence or steady gaze makes you realize she has seen through it. And suddenly you are left confronting the question you have been avoiding. Why am I pretending? That moment can feel uncomfortable, almost like standing in front of a spotlight. Yet, that discomfort often leads to growth. What makes her presence unforgettable is that she does not expose people to shame them. She exposes them to free them. She knows that real change only happens when illusions break. That is why those who can handle her presence often come out stronger, clearer, and more honest with themselves. The truth is, many will resist her, but none will forget her. Because once someone has forced you to meet your own reflection, you cannot unsee it. And that is the silent power of the Sigma female. She does not just walk into people's lives, she transforms them from the inside out, even if it takes years for them to admit it. Number 7, she shows people how rare authenticity really is. And once they lose it, every other connection feels hollow. A Sigma female does not wear masks or play roles to fit into someone else's expectations. She speaks and acts in a way that is true to her, even when it is not convenient or flattering. At first, people might not fully appreciate it. They might even mistake her honesty for bluntness, or her independence for coldness. But in time, they realize that what she offered was something many talk about, but few actually live by: real authenticity. Think about how often we settle for surface-level conversations. People ask how you are, but they rarely wait for the real answer. They talk about plans, trends, and appearances, yet avoid anything that might reveal vulnerability. With a Sigma female, the opposite happens. If she asks how you are, she genuinely wants to know. She listens without judgment and gives you the freedom to be unpolished. That is why people often feel lighter after spending time with her, even if they cannot explain why. The contrast becomes clear only after she is gone. Other connections suddenly feel rehearsed, shallow, or transactional. Imagine being used to drinking pure spring water, then switching to tap water filled with chemicals. The difference is obvious, and no matter how much you try to adjust, you always remember the taste of what was real. That is exactly how her authenticity feels once it is lost. What makes this even more powerful is that her authenticity does not mean perfection. She admits her flaws, owns her mistakes, and refuses to hide behind polished facades. That honesty invites others to do the same. And for many, it is the first time they feel truly seen. The lasting truth is this. After experiencing her presence, people find it almost impossible to be satisfied with shallow connections again. She raises the bar without trying. And once she leaves, the emptiness of what remains forces people to recognize the difference between what is real and what only pretends to be. Number 8. She forces people to grow because she refuses to stay where growth is absent. A Sigma female does not settle in stagnant spaces, whether in relationships, friendships, or her own personal life. She knows that comfort without growth eventually becomes a trap, and she will not allow herself to be stuck in a place where nothing is moving forward. Her decision to keep evolving has a ripple effect on everyone around her. Imagine being in a relationship where both people are stuck repeating the same arguments without ever addressing the root of the problem. Most people either ignore it or learn to live with the tension. A Sigma female will not. She will either push for honest conversations and real change, or she will walk away. That decision forces the other person to face uncomfortable truths about themselves. They may resist it at first, but later they often realize her refusal to stay the same was actually an invitation to grow. The same happens in friendships. If the bond is built only on gossip, distractions, or shallow fun, she eventually steps back. Not because she is heartless, but because she understands that real connection requires growth, accountability, and depth. Her leaving creates a moment of reflection for others. They start asking why she distanced herself and whether they have been avoiding their own growth all along. Even in her own life, she sets the standard. She reads, learns, challenges herself, and confronts her flaws. People around her see this and cannot help but be inspired, even if they never admit it openly. The truth is her presence feels like a challenge to evolve. Those who embrace it become stronger and more self-aware. Those who resist it often end up resenting her. But even in that resentment, they cannot ignore the push she gave them. That is why she leaves such a lasting impact. She does not just walk through people's lives. She transforms them by refusing to remain in places where growth is not happening. Number 9. Others try to replace her with distractions, but the silence she leaves behind is louder than the noise of replacements. When a Sigma female walks away, the first instinct for many is to fill the gap quickly. They surround themselves with new friends, casual flings, or endless activities, hoping the busyness will cover up the emptiness. For a while, it might even seem to work. But the truth creeps in during the quiet moments. When the noise fades, her absence speaks louder than anything else. Think about it like this. Imagine you have been listening to music that speaks directly to your soul. Then suddenly that song is gone and all you're left with is static. You can play other songs, but none of them carry the same depth or resonance. That is what losing her feels like. She was not just part of the background. She was the harmony that made everything feel real. The silence she leaves is not empty. It is filled with reminders of how deeply she understood, how honestly she spoke, and how present she was. No distraction can erase that. Others may try to drown it out with temporary highs, but the comparisons never stop. The new faces, the new connections, the new routines all feel shallow against the memory of her authenticity. What makes her irreplaceable is that she never tried to be everything for everyone. She was simply herself, and that was enough to leave an imprint people cannot shake off. And once she is gone, they realize that the void she created is not something that can be filled. It must be lived with. That is why her silence is so powerful. It exposes the difference between what is real and what is only noise. And once someone has known her presence, they can never truly unhear the echo of what they lost. Number 10. Her departure often becomes the turning point in someone else's life story, whether they admit it or not. A Sigma female rarely leaves without reason. When she walks away, it is not on impulse, but because she has reached the point where staying would mean betraying her own peace. And that choice, though quiet, shakes the lives of those she leaves behind in ways they may not realize immediately. At first, people may try to downplay it. They tell themselves they will be fine, that her absence will not matter much. They distract themselves with routines, new relationships, or shallow comforts. But over time, the reality sets in. They notice how her presence once challenged them to grow, how her honesty cut through their excuses, and how her calm intensity made them confront truths they would have otherwise ignored. Imagine someone who avoids responsibility, always blaming circumstances or others. When she was there, she likely called it out not to judge, but to encourage change. They may have brushed it off then, but once she is gone, her words echo louder. They start to see what she meant, and that realization often becomes the first step toward transformation. Her departure has the power to act like a mirror. People are forced to reflect on why she left, what they failed to appreciate, and what they need to change. For many, it marks the end of complacency. For some, it sparks the beginning of growth they had long delayed. The irony is that they may never admit her influence. Pride keeps them from saying it out loud. But deep down, they know she was the turning point. They know the moment she walked away, their story shifted course. That is the mark of a Sigma female. She does not just enter and exit lives. She leaves chapters rewritten, lessons planted, and turning points that cannot be erased. Number 11. People never forget a Sigma female because she teaches them lessons they were never ready to learn, even if it hurts. Her presence in someone's life is not about comfort or convenience. It is about truth, growth, and self-discovery. And the truth is rarely easy to accept. Most people go through life surrounding themselves with what feels safe. They want reassurance, validation, and soft words that protect their illusions. A Sigma female disrupts that pattern without even trying. She will point out when someone is lying to themselves, when they are settling for less, or when they are hiding from their own potential. In the moment, this can feel harsh, even unbearable. But later, when emotions settle, her words and actions take on a weight that cannot be ignored. Think about someone who stays in a relationship that no longer serves them. Friends might say, give it time, or it will get better. A Sigma female will say, you already know this is breaking you. That honesty may sting, but it plants a seed. Months later, when that person finally leaves, they realize she was the one who gave them the courage to face the truth. She also teaches through absence. When she decides to walk away, people often feel the emptiness more deeply than they expected. They are forced to confront why she left. And in that process, they face lessons about respect, boundaries, and value that they were not ready to accept before. The unforgettable part is not her presence alone, but the way she changes people long after she is gone. Her lessons echo in their choices, their relationships, and their self-awareness. They may not admit it openly, but deep down they know she was the teacher they did not ask for yet desperately needed. That is why people never forget a Sigma female. She is not a fleeting memory. She is the hard truth that shapes someone's future. Number 12. For many, she is not just a chapter. She is the ending that reshapes the way they read every chapter after. A Sigma female has a way of leaving such a deep impression that her presence becomes a reference point in people's lives. Once she steps in, things are never the same. And once she steps out, the story carries her imprint in every page that follows. Think about a powerful ending in a book or a movie. It changes the way you view everything that came before it. Moments that once seemed small take on new meaning because of how the story closed. That is exactly what happens when someone crosses paths with a Sigma female. She becomes the chapter that redefines the narrative. The way she loved, the way she spoke truth, the way she held her standards. These things become lessons people carry into every connection afterward. For example, someone who once accepted shallow relationships may find it impossible to go back after experiencing her depth. A friend who avoided honesty might start craving more direct and real conversations because she showed them what authenticity looks like. Even in silence, her influence echoes. People start measuring others against the bar she unconsciously set, and often nothing else feels quite the same. Her role in their lives is not temporary decoration. It is transformation. And that transformation comes with a cost because endings are rarely comfortable. She forces people to confront what they ignored, value what they once overlooked, and question what they thought they knew about love, loyalty, and truth. This is why she cannot be forgotten. She is not a fleeting memory or a passing character. She is the ending that shifts perspective, the final note that makes the whole song sound different, the quiet departure that forever changes how the story is read. And for many, that ending becomes the beginning of their real growth. In final words, what does it mean to be remembered long after you are gone? For a Sigma female, this is not about being liked by everyone or leaving behind a trail of approval. It is about impact. The kind of impact that forces people to think differently about themselves, about love, and about truth. That is why she often becomes the final chapter in people's lives. Not because she chooses to play that role, but because her presence leaves a mark that cannot be rewritten. The brutal truth is that not everyone can handle her. She demands growth without asking for it directly. She sets standards simply by living them. She embodies honesty in a world where comfort and pretense often win. And when she decides to walk away, her absence feels like the closing of a book that will never have a sequel. People realize too late that they were in the presence of something rare. And by then, all they have left are lessons. But if you are a Sigma female, take this as encouragement. Your strength is not in being easy to understand, but in being impossible to forget. You do not just touch lives, you change them, even when it is painful. And even if others never say it out loud, you will always be the reference point they return to when they measure authenticity, loyalty, and truth. So keep walking in your truth. Keep protecting your peace. Because in the end, your story is not just part of someone else's journey. You are the chapter that redefines the entire book. Thank you for watching The Spicy Ladies, and God bless you.